Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and man, I really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to hang out with me a little bit and watch the video. Always very grateful for that. And guys, today I'm going to make the case why we do not need 250 horsepower outboards in bass fishing to go bass fishing. This is probably going to be an unpopular video with boat and motor manufacturers and some of the gearheads out there. But I think for the hardcore hoggers out there, I think you guys will be able to relate to this video. So we're going to go over that in today's edition. Also, guys, just our daily housekeeping tips that you guys love to hear every day and probably fast forward. I just want to invite everybody, or if you're new to the channel, please check out my tackle warehouse link that I put in the link of every description. If you guys like intuitive angling and you want to support the channel and give something back and you need to buy fishing tackle, that's the best thing you can do is use and bookmark that link of mine, because the channel gets a small percentage of anything that you purchase on there. So it's a good way to help out, and much appreciated from me and my whole family here. Okay guys, first of all, I want to say I've been part of this problem for years, because like everybody else, you know, I've been running a 250 horsepower for years up until now. If you guys have seen some of the videos I've done in the past, you know that I'm looking for a new boat now, and I've decided to go small. I've decided to get a 17 or 18 foot boat that's got a 115 with a maximum of 150 horsepower to it. I'm still going to fish tournaments out of it, do all my, you know, filming and all that type of stuff, because I'm just done with it. I'm done with the freaking $100,000 bass boat, you know, dilemma or nightmare that we found ourselves in across the country here. And one of the wisest things I have ever heard in my life is like that, as I got older, I realized how smart my dad was. But for years, even up until when he passed a couple of years ago, and back 30 years before that, every time that I came home from a bad tournament, he'd go, "Randy, you can't catch a bass running 70 miles down the lake." You know, he never, when I got a 250 horsepower in my boat, he goes, "Now why in the hell do you need a 250 horsepower to go bass fishing?" Because we had a 28 horsepower on our boat that we grew up fishing in with my dad forever, and my first boat had a 9 horsepower, and my second boat had a 50 horsepower on it. But what has happened is, like, I was reluctantly, you know, forced to do this, because I'll tell you a little background story with it. You know, up until I can't remember what year it was exactly. I think it was probably sometime around the early to mid 2000s, early 2000s. Bassmaster had a 150 horsepower limit on their boats. You couldn't have over 150 horsepower. And then they lifted that rule, and then boats started getting bigger. And then I was on the Ranger Pro staff at the time, and Ranger, they made us run a certain boat. We couldn't go to a small boat. They made us run their top of the line boat, and their top of the line boats grew to 20, 21 foot, and they put 250 horsepowers on it. And I was forced to run one or not have the sponsorship I had with Ranger Boats. But I didn't like it, because going to that bigger motor and that bigger boat, I couldn't get shallow anymore. It's like I made a living in fishing, getting to places where people couldn't get to. Scratching the bottom of my boat out with my 150 horsepower, I'd get back into shallow water with my 17 and a half foot boat. And once those big boats were forced on us by Ranger, I couldn't go shallow, and I had to completely change the way that I fished, and it wasn't good. It's like I never did as good once they upgraded to bigger boats. So here's the point of what I'm talking about. We do not need 250 horsepower boats or outboards to go bass fishing. 150 horsepower is plenty, guys. You can still run 60 miles an hour in most boats with a 250 horsepower. You don't need to go faster than 60 miles an hour. Going faster than 60 miles an hour is freaking dangerous. Guys, bass boats are extremely dangerous. People don't realize how dangerous boats are. I've seen some boat wrecks, and I promise you guys, you do not want to see a boat wreck. Boat wrecks are gruesome. And a lot of that comes from people going too fast. You see it all the time. You see these guys going balls to the wall at tournament takeoffs in rough water. You know, their partners are just, you know, hanging on for dear life. And all you dudes out there that run Allisons, I know you think you got to go 90 miles an hour, but you don't. And the point of the matter is as the horsepowers got bigger, the prices of the boats got bigger and bigger and bigger. And now we've transcended the $100,000 mark, and you cannot go buy almost any boat manufacturer that makes the fiberglass boats. You cannot get their top of the line bass boat for under $100,000, which is absolutely stupid. So the advantage of downsizing to 150 horsepower is it's safer. You can tow it with a smaller truck. You get better gas mileage. It allows you to get into shallower, skinnier water. So many advantages of it. And you know, it goes back to the tournaments again, guys. If the tournaments would have 150 horsepower limit on the boats, we wouldn't be in this situation again. It's the same with the live scope. It's like the tournament organizations set the trend within the industry about what people use and then what other recreational anglers use, because as more and more people follow tournaments and they sort of like set the example, people follow suit. And you've seen that with the cheater box, you've seen that with 250 horsepower motors. And I haven't seen anything that has benefited. It's like bass fishing to me, it's like I have not seen any type of increase in the enjoyment of my fishing or anybody's fishing by going from 150 horsepower to 250 horsepower. Like I said, it makes the boats heavier. You can't get shallower. It's more expensive. They burn more gas. You know, they're more expensive to get worked on. It's a negative all the way around. The only people that are liking it are the people that are building the motors that are getting, you know, $10,000 more for 250 horsepower than they are 150 horsepower. So it's just another one of those deals. It's like, man, in the perfect world, if I was guys, I can promise you guys, if I ever win the Powerball, and I win one of those, you know, $900 million Powerballs, the first thing I'm going to do is go to Bassmaster and make them an offer they can't refuse on the organization. And I'm going to go through and freaking clean house on everything. There's going to be 150 horsepower limit. There's going to be no spotlight. And there's going to be no limits on guys that want to get into shallow water. We're going to take it back to the days of when bass fishing was real bass fishing, back in the late 70s, the 80s, and it started to change in the early 90s. But all you guys out there that were bass fishing in the 80s, you know what I'm talking about. That was the golden years of fishing. That was the golden years of Bassmaster. It was the golden years of bass boats. It was the golden years of everything out there. And I'm not saying this because I'm some old, you know, washed up geezer bass fisherman that just lives in the past all the time. I'm saying that as a third-party observer that somebody has been in the sport for 5 decades. I've witnessed the transition of the sport and the equipment of it over a period of 5 decades. And what I have seen over the past 20 years since we've allowed these 21-foot bass boats and 250 horsepowers in there, I haven't seen anything positive to come out of it. So anyway, I'm curious to get your guys' opinion on it. What do you think about that? Do you think that tournaments should go back to 150 horsepower? I know that they would fight it tooth and nail. I mean, it's the same deal. It's like the boat and motor manufacturers would say the same thing. It's like, we can't make enough money on 150 horsepower. We're not going to do that. It's the same with the live scope. Again, it's just all about money with that. So anyway, guys, I've had it with it. Like I said, I've had it. I'm going back to a small boat. I'm going back to simple electronics. Probably have 2D sonar at the most. Might even run an old flasher and a GPS simply for safety reasons. 17, 18-foot boat, 115 to 150 horsepower motor, and I'll probably start enjoying fishing more than I have in the last 30 years. So let me know what you all think about it. We'll talk later.